First time the British National Party is now represented in the European Parliament. The party picked up the seats in the North West and Yorkshire and Humber region. Labour called the BNP victory a shameful stain on Britain, and David Cameron said they were an appalling bunch of people. But the party's leader, Nick Griffin, who took one of the seats, said the BNP had made an historic breakthrough. Ian Watson reports now from Manchester.
Voters often talk about giving politicians a kicking, but the BNP seem to attract a uniquely active opposition. Their leader, Nick Griffin, won a seat in the European Parliament, campaigning against MPs' expenses and calling for a protest vote. But once elected, he said voters had also warmed to his more traditional message.
They, like us, want the door shutting because this country is full, and they want the illegals and the bogus asylum seekers and people who are disloyal to Britain out of the country.
The British National Party's policies favour voluntary repatriation of ethnic minorities, and they would halt further immigration. They also call for withdrawal from the European Union, and they ban people from ethnic minority backgrounds from joining their party. Across northwest England, the BNP gained 8% of the vote, sweeping away some traditional loyalties. Here in usually solid Labour Salford, their support was even higher, at more than 10%. How did you vote?
BNP, I'm sorry to say. It's a bad thing, but that was
why are you sorry?
Because it's a protest against all the parties.
But some voters found exactly what they were looking for in the BNP.
There's too many foreigners to taking all the jobs, and if you're British, you can't get a job. Simple.
The BNP will be pleased about the progress they've made in Salford, but just across the river in Manchester, they got a much lower share of the vote. The city is more multicultural, but also has its fair share of disillusioned voters. So how did they choose to protest?
With everything that's gone on with all the MPs, I've totally lost all respect for any of them.
So you voted for no one?
I voted for no one.
I voted for the Green Party because they seemed like the best one out of a bad lot.
Two BNP members will now join some of the other small parties in the European Parliament. They will each be entitled to an annual salary of £80,443. They'll also get staff and office costs of up to £219,000 a year, plus they can pick up a daily attendance allowance of £207. Nick Griffin will hope a much higher political profile will help build more support for his party, but tonight the anti-BNP protests are continuing. Ian Watson, BBC News, Manchester.
Well, we've got more to come from around Britain, but let's just go over the road now to the House of Commons and talk to our political editor, Nick Robinson, who's there in the lobby. Nick, I want to look at the big picture in a second, but first, the BNP. Do you think the British public is now changing its mind about this party?
Well, the evidence isn't there for that, George, because you might assume, given that they now have two members of the European Parliament, had none before, that there's been a sweeping increase in votes for the BNP. In fact, in the northwest of England, where Nick Griffin was elected, he got fewer votes this time than he did 5 years ago. Then why, you say, has he got elected? Because the way these European elections work is it's not the total number of votes, you get the share of the vote. And why was he getting in there for? Because Labour's vote collapsed. Just listen to these figures. 576,000 people voted Labour in the northwest 5 years ago. This year, 336. That's 240,000 Labour supporters stayed at home. Now,